Hi class, this is week 3 of Human Communication in Group. Um, I wanted to start off this week talking a little bit about week 4's assignment. There's been a lot of questions about who can be part of that group. Now, I want to clarify, week 4's assignment is different than the capstone. So you can have anyone participate in your demonstration group as long as they're over 18 years of age. It could be family members, it could be friends, it could be colleagues, coworkers. It does not matter. We just need people willing to participate. So I know there's been a lot of questions about that, but that's what's needed in order to do that assignment. You need people to form a group. So I just wanted to clarify that. That is separate than your capstone group. So your capstone group is just for your final assignment. They're two separate things. Now, I did allow there to be no need for a Blackboard discussion week 4, but your week 4 assignment is still due because there was some confusion about that. At this point, if you don't have a group for the capstone, please get a hold of me because I'm trying to place people that need groups. So to my knowledge, everyone's placed, but that might not be accurate. So please let me know if you do not have a capstone group. You need to have a group. So hopefully you've been learning a lot about group in the past few weeks. Group is an amazing benefit to therapy. It's a great addition to counseling. It's nice for people to have a individual therapist and be able to attend groups that offer additional support. From reading your Blackboard discussions and things, you guys are seeing the benefit to self-disclosure. You're seeing how cathartic it could be for people to learn and grow from other people in a group. And those are some of the benefits of group that aren't offered necessarily on one-on-one therapy. So in your reading for this week, it's talking about the beginning parts of group, and that's really important, establishing a rapport. Now, as a clinician, you want to maintain rapport in a group. You want to maintain level of control. Not that you want to control what people say so much as you want to make sure that group members are following the boundaries and the rules. There has to be boundaries in group. And group can be a way to establish those boundaries, but you want to make sure that boundaries are established, and that the ground rules for group are very clear. You will have people who will try to take advantage of that, and that can be cause major detriment to a group and cause chaos. And depending on the kinds of groups, some people thrive in those kinds of environments and will like to cause those kinds of problems. So it's important that things are very clear, well established. Usually in the paperwork section, ground rules are kind of already established. Some groups tend to go over ground rules each week, so everybody is on the same page. Now, depending if a group is open or closed, that may not necessarily need to be done. But even if it's an open group, so new people could come every week, you might want to be clear on what the rules are for the group, because somebody might, violate a rule not even realizing that it's a rule. Also, something was brought up about confidentiality. The expectation is that group members will keep things in group. However, that cannot be guaranteed, but they are to sign a document stating that they will keep things confidential. A lot of groups, people formulate a mutual respect for one another, and that mutual respect will cause them to not want to share because their hope would be that they're not sharing. Now, again, we can't guarantee that, but that is a hope. And somehow, if things do come back that someone is telling, that could cause consequences or get them sometimes as a result of disobeying or causing that level of distrust in the group for that person to get kicked out of the group. A lot of times in that ground rule portion, there will show consequences of not being on time or missing so many sessions or whatever those may be, depending on the kinds of group they are, where people will be asked to leave a group. So it's important for the therapist to make their role clear. If there's two therapists, you want to make sure that how they're coexisting, that it's not good cop bad cop, kind of like parenting. Sometimes it's nice to have one person, like them taking turns leading, so it's not seen as one person is doing more than the other person, because people will try to cause dissension, and because we're dealing with people who maybe have different struggles or things that, again, don't even realize some of their behaviors that they do that cause problems in groups of people. So you want to make sure you and that other clinician are on the same page, you know what you're doing. It's nice to have a partner when leading group, just because you can bounce things off of one another. It helps with kind of maintaining the rapport and maintaining the ground rules and things of that, especially, again, depending on the types of groups. If it's a larger group too, it's nice to have additional support. And it's another set of eyes and another set of perspective. Not everyone thinks the same, obviously, and so to have two different clinicians maybe that would see things differently can add a whole other element that could be supportive and helpful for different people. So that's nice. Before, previously, you've talked about screening and all those things, so you're hoping that the right people are in the right group to meet those people's needs and help with their learning, overall learning. Now, once people get established and start to feel comfortable, we enter into this whole other level of phase, which is the mid phase, the time when we're able to maybe do some of more of the work. We're comfortable, we know each other, we're learning. And then, of course, there's a termination phase or an end phase of group. Now, with termination, you don't tell them you're terminating at the last week. That's something that you're preparing for as group goes on. So now, if it's an open group, you don't have to necessarily do that, because the group is like AA. You could go all the time. You could go once in your life. Like, there's no requirement or commitment. Other groups are like, this is an 8-week group, so it's going to end, but they're probably going to talk about it ending before week 8. And that's a nice feature. However, some people cause situations to arise where they don't get to finish group. Maybe they've missed something, or they didn't do an assignment, or they violated some sort of ground rule, and so they are forced to leave group. And those kinds of things affect group members. It's like a little family, and so when one person's gone, it affects the group. Sometimes goals are met, or people graduate from programs, and so they leave the group, and so there's this need to say goodbye, or to let them pass on, and that's huge in group. That's really, really important. So we like a soft handoff. That's what we call it a lot of times in therapy. When you transition from one therapist to another therapist is important, but even more so in group, because you want people to feel prepared, to feel ready for that kind of a transition. In group in particular, you do not want conflict to go undealt with. So you want to deal with any hostility, angry feelings, addressing things, sometimes addressing them in group, sometimes addressing them as a clinician with a group member outside of group, but you want to let things be addressed because it affects the whole entire group. This is a great way of modeling how to manage conflict. I think group is a great way to model social skills. There's groups, especially for a lot of minors, that are about social skills. And this is a great way to show, like, this is how you handle certain types of situations. Not everyone is well equipped on handling those kinds of situations, and group allows opportunities for people to see how things can be done in an appropriate way. They can see how the clinician keeps their cool, the kind of language that they use, how they address something, and sometimes people just have never been called out. I think a lot of people don't realize the ramifications of what they do until someone points it out, and then all of a sudden there's some level of self-awareness. So group offers those opportunities, and you want to make sure as a clinician that you're addressing those things as needed. You don't want those things to go to the wayside and then it affect the whole group, and there's tension or frustration and all those kinds of things, which can be very hard, can be very awkward. I wouldn't say it happens all the time, and the more groups you run, the more comfortable you feel doing it, and as you know people in group, you get to know people, it will probably be easier too. Like, it's not something you necessarily want to do on week 1, but it's something like as the weeks go on, if it's a 16-week group, in week 8 you say something to someone who maybe says something inappropriate, that gives them an opportunity to model those kinds of things. Also, you know, sometimes people never have gotten a chance to stand up for themselves, and there might be someone in a group that really reminds them of somebody from their past or things of that nature. And group offers opportunities to kind of deal with those things too and address some of the things that maybe someone's never gotten to address before, but gets to address it in another person. And that can be very healing and very cathartic for people. So group offers a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily get if it's just a one-on-one session. Not saying one-on-one therapy isn't beneficial, it's absolutely beneficial, but I think group can be a great addition to one-on-one therapy. I think it's a learned thing for a clinician. It's something you have to get used to, and just being mindful if you're in a stage of having supervision to consult your supervisor with to make sure you're doing the right things and you're on the right track. It's so easy to have so many different dynamics in group just because you're dealing with usually more than 5 people. And so you want to make sure that you're addressing the things that need to be addressed and maybe letting students address things with each other, because that's part of that learning process. Someone being able to say, you know, when you said this statement, it really hurt my feelings, could be very empowering for that person. But you want to have the freedom that they can do those kinds of things, or that you can do those kinds of things as the clinician. So I hope you find this helpful. We're on to week 4 after this week, so we're halfway done. You're making it. And I hope you're all able to find people to participate in your group. I've made it clear to some people, like, the camera just needs to be on you. I just need to be able to hear the group, but I need to see you demonstrating your group. I don't really need to see your group members. So if there's a way for you to do that, and if that would make your participants feel more comfortable, absolutely, please do that. I just need to see you using your skills, or what you think is what it's going to be. Now, I don't expect anyone to be perfect. This is learning, and a lot of times it's harder when it's fake people versus the real thing. But it's just a way for us to see you practicing and trying to demonstrate what group would be like. If we were live and all together, I would make you guys become a group. And then you guys could each take a turn running the group. But since we're all at home, that isn't feasible. So at least with you doing this gives you kind of an opportunity to see what it's like to run a group and see what happens, you know, and to practice. So anyways, if you have any further questions, please go ahead and contact me through email. I try to be quick, or by my phone. I look forward to next week, and I hope you enjoy this reading. Thank you.